Larry, something's supposed to happen? Lots of stuff are happening, man. Larry says, was Trump right? Is Bitcoin a scam, or is he just too old and stupid to know how blockchain works? I would definitely lean on the side of him being stupid for sure. Alexander saying, sold 6/7 and bought back this morning. Very nice. Folks, I indeed have bought back into the market this morning as well. If you guys have been following the channel, if you guys were a member of our VIP Discord group, you would know that I trade and invest based off evidence, and so I don't buy or sell, or at least I try not to, based off emotion. So once Bitcoin broke down bearishly, made a new lower low, that was bearish confirmation, and so unfortunately I begrudgingly practiced some risk management since we had confirmation of the bear trend, and I did take profits on maybe around 5 to 10% of my portfolio, probably closer to 5 if I'm being honest. And I spent this morning buying the dip on a lot of projects. So honestly, I was still in decent profit on a lot of stuff that I took profit on. So that allowed me to buy the dip on a few projects that I like, a few projects that I'll mention to you guys here. And so guys, really what I want to get across with this live stream is Bitcoin is looking very, very interesting. Folks, we are in very interesting times. And I think we may have seen a bottom. Now, obviously, we need more confirmation. We are still in a super, super precarious place. But guys, we're seeing some insanely interesting, some insanely bullish stuff going on. Folks, if you unless you're living on a rock, you probably already heard, especially if you're in the cryptoverse. But guys, El Salvador has officially accepted Bitcoin as legal tender. This is a big deal. This is arguably one of the biggest developments in cryptocurrency's history. Folks, there is a bunch of coordinated FUD that's all or nothing burger. FBI, regulatory FUD, Chinese FUD. What does all this FUD amount to? It all amounts to a giant nothing burger, temporary problems. This China FUD will make Bitcoin greener and more decentralized. Great. All this coordinated FUD that we've been getting the last few weeks is nothing. But what are we actually seeing? Something of substance? The biggest, most bullish catalyst, I believe, arguably, in Bitcoin and maybe cryptocurrency's history, the first country has officially adopted and endorsed Bitcoin. Yes, it's El Salvador. Yes, it's a smaller country. But folks, this is a sign of the time. This is a sign of things to come. We have an article here by Bitcoinist, and honestly, the only thing that's important here is the title. No, I hate to say that because obviously there's important stuff in articles and important nuance. But guys, the main takeaway here is that there is now a developing arms race between countries to adopt Bitcoin. What are we seeing here? We're seeing billionaires and hedge funds start to buy into crypto. We're seeing Mexico, we're seeing Paraguay talking about buying into Bitcoin and buying into crypto. Folks, hedge funds are buying the dip, whales are buying the dip, countries are buying the dip. And also, what are we seeing? We're seeing exchanges, we're seeing Bitcoin start to leave exchanges again. We're starting to see outflows of Bitcoin leaving exchanges, OTC transactions increasing, going through the roof, Bitcoin leaving exchanges. Folks, I think this was the bottom. Now, look, guys, I'm getting perhaps a bit ahead of myself here because the fundamentals for Bitcoin and crypto never been better, and that's actually why I'm feeling extra and especially bullish this morning. Because while price action sucks and the market's very fearful, the fundamentals have never been better. And folks, markets act irrationally. Every action in the market is an overreaction. Whenever we have a large move to the upside, it's often followed by substantial correction. Whenever we have a large move to the downside, it's often followed by a substantial relief rally. and we have yet to have had a relief rally with Bitcoin, folks, with insanely bullish fundamentals, extreme overextension to the downside, and no relief rally yet. I think in the near future, at the very least, a relief rally is very realistic here. As well, if we go and zoom in at price action and examine price action, it is actually insanely bullish what we're seeing here. Because, you know, if anyone here has been on crypto YouTube, you've seen everyone draw a wedge, a triangle. And every exchange, every chart's slightly different, and you could draw this slightly different ways, but ultimately it more or less means the exact same thing, which is we tried to break out bullishly. Elon Musk tweeted, which, you know, caused fear, uncertainty, doubt in the market. There was a sell-off, and we broke down bearishly. Not only did we break down bearishly, but we made a lower low. This was looking very, very bad. But what are we seeing right now? Not only are we back above this resistance trend line based off this bottom, this higher low, but we're now actually seemingly breaking out bullishly from one of our resistance trend lines. Folks, this is a very, very big deal. The fact that we broke down bearishly and the downtrend could not continue and it got bought back up and we're now seemingly breaking out bullishly out of one layer of resistance. This is very hopeful. And folks, given the fact that we're so overextended to the downside, given the fact that we have such insanely bullish long-term fundamentals, I do think at the very least a relief rally is overdue, long overdue with Bitcoin. And folks, I honestly think I could totally see Bitcoin retesting 41, 42K. These two major resistance levels. Guys, I want to tell you the two levels we need to break above if we want Bitcoin to be bullish again. So folks, if you guys want to hear more about that and you like, the channel, like what we do, folks, smash that like button. 150 people watching, only 22 likes. Give me a like. Just take a second. Give me 1 second here as well. So guys, here's what's going on. If we can get above this white trend line, if we can get above 38,000, then we're probably going to test 41, 42K. Let me say that again. If we can hold 38,000, get a couple hourly candles, close above 38,000, then we would have broken out bullishly after a rejection to the downside, after a bear trap. Having a bullish breakout after a bear trap is extremely bullish, especially given how incredibly overextended we are to the downside, especially when we're seeing some of the biggest news events in Bitcoin's history. I think a relief rally is likely. Now, we may find rejection if we pump. It's totally possible. We're not out of the woodwork yet. We might not recover tomorrow. It might take quite a long time. But I do think a relief rally makes a lot of sense. So, folks, if we break above 38K, then we could probably retest these two moving averages. This yellow line is the 200 simple moving average on the daily. This blue line is the 200 exponential moving average on the daily. If we want Bitcoin to start looking bullish again, Bitcoin leads the market, will affect the rest of the altcoin market. We need to get daily candles close above this. So for me, it's quite simple. If we get above 38K, that means we can test this resistance at 41, 42K. If we get a couple 1-2 daily candles fully closing above $42,000, fully closing above these two lines, then in that case, we could probably do something like this. So I don't know why my chart's being so glitchy this afternoon. I keep drawing lines and they keep moving by themselves. Basically, what I'm saying here is, am I still on log chart? I've been having a terrible time here, folks, with my charts, and they're not cooperating with me. So here we go. This is what I'm trying to say. Folks, if we can get above those two levels, then we can test this red resistance trend line. And this red resistance trend line, I believe, is the ultimate final make it or break it territory for Bitcoin, the thing that will determine whether or not the bull market will continue or whether we're likely to enter into a bear market. Because if we go back to maybe 2017 here, I'll show you guys why this is so relevant. Because in 2017, when we were entering the bear market, what did we do? We put in an all-time high, a lower high. If we just extend a resistance line, eventually we came back up to retest it here, got rejected, and that was confirmation of the bear market. Even if we go to 2019 here as well, if we draw a red resistance trend line from kind of our peak to our second lower high here. We can see that eventually we went back up to retest, it got rejected, and that was bearish confirmation. Folks, this is a very, very big deal, understanding what way we react off this level, because if we have a relief rally, pump, find rejection, then we could probably fall back down again. But if we have a relief rally, pump, break out, come back down, and we gotta wait for the retest. If we break above, come back down, retest, and hold, if we can flip this resistance level into support on a retest, then at that point, folks, I think we're looking more bullish than bearish, and I think the rest of the bull market is a go, and I think we're going to over $100,000 with Bitcoin this year if we can flip that red trend line and then retest it and hold it as support. And folks, for us to get there, we need to do two things. We need to get above 38K. If we can get above 38K, we can retest 41.42. If we can get above 41.42, then we can retest the 50 daily SMA here at about 45,000. If we can get above that white line, that 50 daily simple moving average, then we could retest this red resistance trend line from all-time highs to the next lower high. And if we can get above that, then folks, wrap it up here. I'll see y'all on the moon at 100K Bitcoin, well over 100K. So guys, look, even with this correction, even with this, micro lower low we put in, we still put in a macro higher low. And given all the resistance above us, rejections I think are to be expected. It's nothing to be freaked out over. The key factor with if you want to understand whether it's likely or not that we're entering a bear market is lower lows. The second we put in a lower low below 30,000, that makes it more likely that the downtrend continues. But as long as we keep putting in higher lows, then we can keep testing resistance. And the more times we test resistance, the more likely we are to break through resistance. So, guys, while we're seeing some signs to be hopeful in the short term, again, it's always a good idea to remind ourselves to not let our emotions and our hope and our greed, dictate our actions. What we want to see is confirmation. More confirmation we get, either bullish or bearish, the more confident we can be of the trend. So right now, we did still put in a lower low, right? So that is bearish. We are breaking out bullishly, and we are seeing a bit of, we're breaking above some resistance. But ultimately, guys, for me to really start feeling a little bit more bullish, we need to get above this pocket of resistance, basically at $39,000. Because folks, if we look at Bitcoin's price structure, every impulse to the upside, every mini relief rally is a lower high every time. And so while we are breaking above resistance right now, that is interesting, we're still putting in lower highs. So for us to feel more confident of the uptrend, we need to see signs of divergence. And the first sign of bullish divergence would be a higher high above 39,500. And again, depending what chart you look at, it's a slightly different price. And so we are breaking above resistance right now as we speak. But really what we want to see is higher highs, because the moment we put in a higher high, that would change the entire price structure. Because so far we've put in lower highs and still macro higher lows. So we need to see a higher high if we want to think that, if we want to be confident in Bitcoin's uptrend. So I see Derek saying here, when moon? Well, Derek, when moon is when we see confirmation. Getting above 39,000 means we could test this. Getting above this means we could test this. Getting above this means we can test this. And getting above all that means we can enter, we can reach all-time highs and our price discovery. And folks, again, my ultimate, just to make things a bit more simpler here, my ultimate test for the bull market is getting above this red trend line, coming back down to retest it, holding it. And in that case, if we can break above, come back down, retest, and hold it as support, then the bull market could continue. Now, to the downside, to the bearish side, if we make a lower low below 30K, that would be bearish confirmation, and it would make it more likely that the downtrend could continue. So I'm using 30K as the inflection point, as the tipping point, that if we drop below it, makes it more likely that we're entering a bear market. And I'm using this resistance trend line as the tipping point that if we can get above and hold above it, is the tipping point that makes it more likely that the bull market will continue. So guys, I hope I've identified the short-term support and resistance levels and kind of the macro tipping points that we need to get above or below if we want to understand bull market or bear market. So those are some of the things I'm looking out for. And guys, we're seeing insanely bullish news. We really got to understand. I really don't think people have really understood what's going on. The market is still stupidly fearful. The market is in extreme fear as the biggest development and the biggest adoption news story with Bitcoin just hit. The fundamentals for Bitcoin have literally never been better. The same fundamentals that brought Bitcoin to $65,000, $64,000 were the same goddamn fundamentals that that Bitcoin had at $30,000. The only thing that changed is that we were overextended, broke below support, and had a bunch of coordinated FUD all at once. But the fundamentals, the thing that makes the growth long-term sustainable, haven't changed and are only getting better. Folks, this is a massive deal, and I don't think the market has woken up to what this means quite just yet. Because sure, it's just El Salvador, sure, it's a small country, but it's the first of many to come. We're seeing Mexico, we're seeing Paraguay, we're seeing institutions, we're seeing hedge funds, we're seeing countries, we're seeing banks, we're seeing whales buying the dip on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is moving from weak hands, people who've been holding 155 days or less, to people who've been holding forever and larger wallets. Unfortunately, I'm not going to look at it right now, but basically with Bitcoin, smaller sized wallets have been selling their Bitcoin and larger sized wallets have been accumulating Bitcoin. Folks, I think this was a coordinated FUD campaign to shake people out. And look, I don't know about shaking out, but look, again, with the market being so precarious, and it's still very precarious, I do want to follow a logical plan. And so for me, I said to myself, each bit of further bearish confirmation that we get, I'll practice risk management begrudgingly and move into stable coins. And so I did do that when we put in that lower low, although I basically bought back in everything I sold off, almost everything I sold off today, this morning. And so maybe I could start to share a few of what I bought with you guys, but I still have some dry powder on the side to wait for bullish retest, getting above 42K, getting above this red resistance trend line. And so guys, the smart thing to do right now is to wait. While I'm excited and I have a high risk tolerance, I'm kind of pulling the trigger and buying the dip now. But the market could totally crash tomorrow. We still haven't put in higher highs. We're still below major resistance. We're still not out of the forest yet. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but what we want is further confirmation. I'm jumping the gun. I'm taking the risk of buying the dip early before we have bullish confirmation. If you're risk averse and if you're feeling unsure, wait for further confirmation. The market will tell us what's more and less likely. I'm seeing a lot of people, crypto YouTubers, talking about their feelings, intuitions, and while it's great to share wisdom, it's great to share experience, ultimately the price action will tell us what's more and what's less likely. And still, right now, while we're breaking above resistance, we still have not put in a macro higher high. So wait for that confirmation. Wait for higher highs. Wait to see us flip a few resistance levels into support. And in that case, every major resistance level we get above, we can be a little bit more confident of the bullish trend. But we want to see that confirmation. So wait on the sidelines and wait for confirmation. So let's see what you guys are saying. So Buff on the Beat says, that light you see at the end of the tunnel could be an 18-wheeler coming right at you. Be careful. 100%. It could be. Because what have we not seen yet? We have not gotten bullish confirmation. We haven't. We're breaking out bullishly, breaking resistance, but we haven't really gotten bullish divergence confirmation. What we need to see to start being more confident of the bullish trend for Bitcoin is higher highs. We need to end the story, period. We still have not, guys, look, this trend is still bearish because we're still putting in lower highs. We're putting in higher lows, but we broke down bearishly. So this is concerning. The short-term trend is bearish. There's some signs of reversal, but the trend is still bearish. We want to see a higher high above 39,000. We want to get above 42K. We want to get above the 50 SMA. And we want to get above 50,000. And we want to get above this red resistance trend line from all-time highs to the next lower high. If we can get above all of these layers of resistance at that point, we can be confident that there's more evidence pointing bullish rather than bearish. So again, at this point, guys, wait for confirmation. And also, Aftech here brings up a great point, guys. We also need to understand that in crypto, you have to have a long-term mindset to succeed. Who are the people who are the most successful in cryptocurrency? Were those the people who FOMO bought a pump and then panic sold a dump? No, the people who were the most successful were the people buying in here, buying at the worst possible time when everyone was selling, when everything was crashing into nothingness. Nobody wanted to touch it. It was going to zero. Nobody understood it. Utter capitulation. The people who bought at utter capitulation, the peak of fear, and held it forever for years, those are the people that succeed. Folks, look at the people who've succeeded in cryptocurrency before. Who were they and how did they succeed? They succeeded by buying when no one else wanted to, solid projects, and holding it forever. Literally, whenever price fell the most and nobody wanted to touch it and everyone else was selling, the people that bought then and then just held forever and ever for years and years and years and didn't give a shit about the fluctuations, those are the people that succeeded. Because folks, look, we are on the right side of history. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. It's just the timing that's hard. It's difficult to understand in time the movements in the short term. This market is highly, highly volatile. But the people who succeeded in this space were the people who bought when nobody else wanted to, when it was crashing the most, and then held forever. Guys, we're on the right side of history. Countries are starting to adopt Bitcoin. The global reserve currency, the US dollar, they're printing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, devaluing their currency. Indexes that track the cost of goods and services in the U.S. are already starting to show signs of inflation. The Fed is already talking about raising interest rates. Inflation is here to come. When it does, the stock market will take a hit. The rich need a hedge, and Bitcoin and crypto is the thing that has the best chance of being the world's hedge against the dollar losing its value, not to mention all the intrinsic use case that DeFi and NFTs bring with it. Folks, we're on the right side of history being in crypto. It's just the timing that's difficult. The more short-term an outlook we have, the greater the risk. The more long-term an outlook you have, the less your risk. Because yeah, we're stupidly volatile, but what has Bitcoin done over the long term? Bitcoin over the long term has done nothing but go up. Fuck these short-term volatility. Fuck it. Imagine if you would have just bought here at the point where it just crashed to nothingness and you just held it forever. You wouldn't give two shits about this correction. Folks, we need to understand the value of having a long-term mindset. And the people who invest in solid projects, not, scams like Doge or Shiba or SafeMoon, crap coins that might be gone next year. Solid projects, Ethereum, Bitcoin, things that have long-term staying power. The people who bought in on corrections, on dips when no one wanted to buy, and held forever were the people who are the most successful and made the most returns in cryptocurrency. So just, folks, get this through your head. We gotta have a long-term mindset. And also, as well, guys, I was in my Discord group earlier, and one of our Discord group members, look, this could have been a troll, might not have been a troll. I don't know if this person was trolling or not, but there was someone in our Discord group who was very upset due to apparently having lost all his money, having leverage trading. He was highly leveraged. He got liquidated and he lost all his money, and he was talking about suicide. Now, again, I don't know if this person was a troll or not. I really hope it's a troll and that someone wasn't seriously considering this. guys, if you're ever in a emotionally not good place, please reach out to friends and family. Please seek professional help. Okay. Also understand, if you take a loss, use that as a lesson. Every time you lose money, it's an expensive lesson. Examine where you went wrong, how you went wrong, and course correct moving forward. And again, guys, I want to say, I bring this up because also, if you're a newer person and you are not extremely confident in your charting capabilities, do not touch leverage trading. I see a lot of big crypto YouTubers shill leverage trading without explaining the very high risk behind leverage trading. The vast majority of people who leverage trade lose, especially if you're talking about newer people. So if you're not confident in what constitutes a good trade, how to, getting in, getting out, entry points, risk management. If you're not confident in spot trading, do not touch leverage. Leverage trading is a great way to lose a lot of money fast if you don't know what you're doing. Folks, if you're new in this market, stick to long-term investing. Buying the dip on solid projects and holding forever has only made people a shit ton of money over the long term. Leverage trading as a new person when you don't understand charting is a great way to lose all your money very fast. Folks, leverage trading is only for experienced, confident chartists and traders. Do not leverage trade if you're new and still learning, because you're going to lose all your money. If you're newer in this market, buying the dip on solid projects and holding forever is probably your best way to go. So I just wanted to have a little bit of a PSA for the newer people out there. Please understand the risks of leverage trading. I leverage trade all the time. I've made money leverage trading. I've lost money leverage trading. And I do this pretty much full time at this point. So guys, if you're new and learning, you're going to lose money statistically leverage trading. So please be very, very careful of that. So that is my mini rant. Thank you guys for listening. Also, there's 260 people watching. Only 83 likes. Folks, if you like my rants, if you appreciate what we do, want to support us, smash that like button. So Buffalo on the Beat says, can you show us a quick example of leverage trading? Sure, I could, yeah. You know what? This is something me and Messi, so me and Messi, we both run this channel. We've been talking a lot about how we want to bring a lot more trading to the channel, because right now we're just kind of talking about general market stuff, because Bitcoin's leading the market right now. We're kind of teetering on the edge of bull market and bear market. So right now following Bitcoin is probably the most important thing. But there's still plenty of trading opportunities, and so hopefully we're going to start trading a lot more. We are doing this 1K to 10K challenge, and so we're going to be very soon here, talking about trading a lot more, talking about our trades, what constitutes a high probability setup, your risk to reward ratios. There's a lot to consider, and so we're going to start delving into that very soon. But also, just to briefly describe a bit of my investment philosophy, one of the things, well, there's a few things. Number one, I personally like trading breakouts. Number two, one of my approaches when it comes to trading is I try and find something that's very overextended to the upside, wait for bearish divergence, then short, or find something that's very overextended to the downside, wait for bullish divergence and a bullish retest, and then long. So you want to find something that's extremely overextended to the downside, wait for that bearish divergence short, or something that's extremely overextended to the opposite side, and then wait for the breakout, wait for the divergence, wait for the retest and confirmation of the trend, and then trade based off that. So guys, you don't want to chase pumps, right? So we'll delve into more trading stuff moving forward. I don't think it's maybe too helpful to go on and on quite just yet. But guys, look, just to keep talking about Bitcoin here, to talk about some more important factors that we need to be aware of. So again, Bitcoin has officially been adopted in El Salvador, and if we kind of look here at what the market is feeling, so in the super short term here, most of the market is actually long. So we can see that based off an hourly time frame, 54% of the market is long compared to 45% short. Let's go to maybe a 12-hour time frame. Yeah, see, even still, the majority of the market is long, 52% long, 42% short. Let's go to a daily time frame. And on a daily, things, people are still a bit short. 48% long, 51% short. So we are seeing that strength in short term, which is reflecting in price action. So let's see if that continues. We're still up against resistance, but again, we're breaking above resistance. So we really just need to wait on the sidelines to see what keeps going. But that is very interesting to see so far. As well, guys, hash rate has historically, especially recently, been very, very correlated with price action. Hash rate dropped when the power outages in China first began, and that's when price started to drop. Hash rate picks up, price picks up, hash rate drops, price drops. So we've been seeing a bit of recovery in hash rate recently. As soon as we start to see higher highs in hash rate, that should tell us, that's another factor that tells us Bitcoin's ready to recover. And again, guys, the stock to flow model by Plan B, very good chart for kind of doing price predictions for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin sometimes underperforms and overperforms the stock to flow model. Currently, we're underperforming, and the stock to flow, which is historically called pretty well price predictions for Bitcoin, is calling for Bitcoin over $100,000 this cycle. So guys, on the cusp of mass adoption, not even cusp, it's happening. Countries are adopting Bitcoin. We're overextended to the downside, and again, we're starting to see countries buy the dip. We're seeing hedge funds buy the dip. We're seeing OTC transactions increase, and we're seeing it reflected in the numbers. Bitcoin is now starting to leave exchanges once again. So if we see if we see this trend continue, then Bitcoin, again, will probably increase in price, because the less supply on exchanges, the less potential selling pressure. And so when supply goes down and demand goes up, you know what happens to price action. And we've been seeing it all throughout this cycle. Bitcoin instead of leaving exchanges, Bitcoin price going up. As soon as the market got spooked, Bitcoin started to enter exchanges again, increase selling pressure. But now that we're maybe seeing some signs of divergence, maybe a relief rally, we're seeing Bitcoin start to leave exchanges again. So good signs. But again, what we want to see is further confirmation. And very recently, tens of thousands of Bitcoin have been leaving exchanges. Here on June 7th, 22,550 Bitcoin was withdrawn from exchanges in one day. This is the biggest net outflow of the year. Very, very significant. So yeah, guys, Killer Azrin says, dude, don't buy now. It's not confirmed yet. And yeah, that's what I've been saying, guys. We're seeing signs of some bullishness, but really we need to wait for confirmation. Now, Plan B himself has put out a very, very interesting chart, which I think is worthwhile to talk about just to get some perspective, this is the stock to flow model. Okay, sometimes we underperform, sometimes we overperform, but typically we follow it pretty goddamn well. And if we examine when was the last time we were on the lower support bands of the stock to flow model, it was the bottom of the bear market and when the global pandemic first hit. Folks, I do not think this Elon garbage, this Trump nonsense, this temporary China FUD, all screams temporary coordinated FUD to shake out retail hands right as we're seeing mass adoption with institutions, countries, hedge funds, and individual rich people. Folks, I think this was the bottom. As long as we hold 30K, because if we drop below 30K again, that's bearish confirmation, makes it more likely that we can continue to go down. But as long as we keep putting in higher lows, then we have a chance of continuing to move out bullishly. So Buff on the Beat says, I hear you on that. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so guys, look, another thing to be aware of here. So Kevin Svinson has posted a very, very interesting chart. And I think this is interesting because, guys, look, history never repeats itself, but it rhymes. Bitcoin has historically moved in cycles. Everything moves in cycles. The whole reason why technical analysis works is because things that happened in the past have a good chance of happening in a similar way in the future. That's why T8 works. That's why people can trade profitably. It's because examining price structure and the story it tells gives you a chance of probabilities and what's likely to happen moving forward. So if we look at what's happened historically based off the 2016 halving, where for those who don't know, every roughly 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin being produced gets cut in half. 371 days after the halving, there is a massive sell-off where we broke below support. And guess what? 373 days after this cycle's halving, the 2020 halving, we've broken below support. We've had a major sell-off. Again, guys, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And so, just because something happened in a similar way last cycle where we had this massive sell-off followed by a recovery, is not a guarantee that it will happen this time, but are there enough signs that make it a interesting question to ponder as to whether this is likely the bottom and whether we can get a relief rally? I think there are enough signs that we can reasonably ponder the idea of this being a bottom and a relief rally in the near future being reasonable. I do believe a relief rally in the near future is pretty reasonable. And just to address, again, one of the most recent FUD stories behind Bitcoin. So a lot of media outlets were reporting that the FBI hacked Bitcoin. Recently, there were some hackers that hacked into a pipeline, held the pipeline as a ransom, got Bitcoin as payment for releasing the pipeline, and then the FBI hacked the hacker's Bitcoin. And so a lot of news events were reporting, news outlets were reporting that the FBI had hacked Bitcoin. They did not hack Bitcoin. The FBI got access to the service that was providing custody for their Bitcoin. They didn't hack the blockchain. They basically just got access to the exchange that was holding their Bitcoin. So just guys, I say this again just to bring up the fact that all the FUD we're seeing, Elon, China, regulation, this FBI nonsense, all screams of temporary problems. All these temporary problems while things are weak to shake people out, while in the meanwhile we're getting tangible bullish stories, one of the biggest bullish stories in Bitcoin's history. And again, guys, I'm focusing on Bitcoin right now. This is kind of the altcoin channel. I love altcoins. I own 0 Bitcoin. But it's important to understand what Bitcoin is doing, because Bitcoin is leading the market. We didn't see a 50, 60, 80% drop with some altcoins because of they all turned to shit all of a sudden. No, it was because of Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin recovers, the alts will bounce back hard. Because guys, look, we are seeing bear market discounts in what could still be a bull market. Again, we need further confirmation, and so I have been buying the dip on a lot of stuff. And hopefully maybe we can start talking about some of that stuff here. So let's read some comments. Kalar says, now time to take a bit of profit. 30% I'm buying at 32K and ready to take off a bit of profit. Sure, yeah, it's always a good idea to take profits, 100%. Bitcoin market cap would have to triple from here to come close. Not sure what you're saying here. Jason says, you're not talking about how much money it takes to push Bitcoin to them levels. This is probably just one long cycle with diminishing returns. It takes so much money to pump Bitcoin that high. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But the Americans are printing trillions and trillions of dollars, and we're seeing countries and we're seeing hedge funds pouring billions into this market. And I think it's a domino effect. Again, guys, like this is one country, but this is the first of many. Like, what have we seen last year? We saw Michael Saylor buy into Bitcoin, one publicly traded company, and now there's 32 publicly traded companies in Bitcoin. What's that number going to be like in next quarter, a year from now, 10 years from now? Guys, the trend is going in one direction, and the trend is going in terms of further and further adoption from companies, countries, and investment funds. Folks, the trend is going one way. So yes, it's going to take a shit ton of money to move Bitcoin, but that money's coming in. So there's that. Rubo says there's 3 rules. Don't listen to the news. Hold, don't panic. Invest money you don't need. Take profits slowly on your way up. Rubo, that is great, not financial advice. I couldn't have put it better myself. Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly here. So I see some people talking about Ethereum. Why don't we start to take a look at Ethereum? Because there's actually a lot of interesting stuff going on with these altcoins. Enough with Bitcoin for a second. So I wanted to maybe take a bit of a new look, a bit of a different look at Bitcoin here, at Ethereum, sorry, rather. So we're looking at a logarithmic chart of Ethereum here. All right, and busting out the Fibonacci channels, Ethereum is pretty well respecting this Fibonacci channel. This Fibonacci channel is drawn from this low to this one to this high. That's how you draw a Fibonacci channel, and that gives you some fib levels that are likely to act as support and resistance. And we can see here that we tested our fib level, and so we're having a bit of an impulse up now to maybe retest up this resistance that's all coalescing at one point here. We have 3 layers of resistance all at one point. So we have horizontal resistance from our fib level and sideways price action here at 2,700. We have also resistance from all-time highs to basically this wick right there, as well as our slanted fib level here acting as resistance. So we have a bunch of resistance all above us right there, all convalescing at 2700. So I do believe 2700 is a bit of an inflection point for Ethereum, where if we can start to get a daily candle close above 2700, then in that case Ethereum would break above multiple areas of resistance and could probably see a bit of a pump, maybe into the low 3000s, if we can get above 2700 for Ethereum. So Ethereum's definitely looking interesting, and a bit more here in the short term. We also have two EMAs, which I believe are probably some of the most relevant EMAs to understand Ethereum's price action. Number one, this 21 EMA on the 6 hour, this white line, great for calling short-term price action for Ethereum. All throughout our impulse, we held it as support. All throughout our downtrend, we held it as resistance. Very relevant EMA for calling short-term price action. This blue line here, 200 EMA on the 10 hour, several times when we had massive corrections, it held as support. Pump dump, we stopped dumping there, held it as support. Pump dump, stopped dumping there, held it as support. So these EMAs are great for both long-term and short-term price action, and we're currently below both. So Ethereum has a lot of resistance above it, from 2600 to 2700. We have fib levels, EMAs, trend lines, all in about kind of this $100 range from 26 to 2700. So if we want ETH to start being short-term bullish, we need to get above $2,600-$2,700. Once we can get one or two daily candles closing above 27, then we can have a conversation of Ethereum pumping further. But for now, there's plenty of resistance above us. So again, we just need to wait on the sidelines, wait to see how things play out, wait for bullish confirmation, wait for bullish retests. There's no reason to jump the gun like myself and buy the dip when it's totally possible that we can dump further. And personally, for me, the reason why I feel comfortable buying the dip on things is because, for myself, I'm not saying this for you guys, but I think the greatest risk factor is not being in cryptocurrency. I think it's a lot riskier to have my money in fiat than to have it in crypto. Because yes, while the short term is very volatile, the short term is very hard to call, and it can be very difficult, the long term is going one place. Adoption is just beginning, guys. We're seeing real institutional adoption, countries, hedge funds. At the same time, we're seeing bullshit coordinated FUD. These bullshit FUD stories, Elon, China, regulations, it's all nothing. These are all temporary problems that actually, over the long term, are bullish. What does this China FUD do? It makes Bitcoin more decentralized and more green. What does this regulation do? It allows for regulatory clarity and more institutional adoption. All this FUD that we've been seeing is nothing. And at the same time, we're seeing countries adopt Bitcoin. Guys, we are being played. We are being manipulated. The fundamentals never look better. Technicals do look weak and do look bearish. Kamarl Azrin says, dude, how to read the EMA for the death cross, and which time frame should we refer to the death cross? I honestly do not place a lot of importance on these death crosses. Sure, they're significant because they mark inflection points, but they just tell us price is bearish, and that's obvious. The lower highs and lower lows and breaking below support is bearishness. It's just telling us the trend is bearish, and that's obvious, and that's not very helpful. So I honestly do not place a lot of importance on death crosses. So Muskoki says, Bitboy did an Elon diss video this morning. Theory, Elon tweets against Bitcoin, it drops again. So just Ben can buy more. Thoughts? I don't know. I do not know about that. I don't think Ben and Elon are coordinating. I do think Elon's a dick, though. Fuck Elon Musk. Look, guys, if he wants to go to Mars and he wants to make electric cars, that's great. But once you start messing with people's money, look, there's real people that are getting hurt by Elon's tweets. Like, if he's just trying to have fun between friends, that's one thing. But him spreading FUD against Bitcoin, people have their savings in this shit. And he's actually negatively affecting people's lives. So while he's having fun and while he treats this as his own plaything, he's actually hurting real people. And so because of that, fuck Elon. He's a bad person. He's a shitty person. He should realize what he's doing. And look, him sitting in his castle, he never has to worry about money a day in his life. But there's a lot of people who aren't filthy rich and who have money in crypto, and him tweeting FUD is negatively affecting people's lives. And so I definitely don't like him, and I probably won't ever buy Tesla moving forward. So that is that. Moving on here, Elon wants attention 100%. That's just it. Elon Musk wants attention. By the way, guys, Tesla is so incredibly overbought. And Michael Burry, I don't know if you guys have ever watched The Big Short. Guys, if you guys are in crypto, you need to watch The Big Short. I've been telling Messin nonstop to watch The Big Short, and there's a financial crime that he has not seen The Big Short. I keep telling him to watch it, and he keeps not watching it. Guys, Michael Burry was one of the first fund managers to call the 2008 financial collapse and with the mortgage situation, and he is shorting Tesla because Tesla is propped up by hot air and no fundamentals. Tesla went to $800 not because they have insane earnings to justify this valuation. No, it's this high because of hype. And so he's recently been short Tesla. And this guy, again, he's really been on top of his shit. So oftentimes he's early. But I think over the long term, I think Tesla could definitely collapse. It's putting in lower highs, testing support. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Tesla in the near future actually breaks down. So actually, why don't we do something fun? Let's just take a second here and look at Tesla, because honestly, guys, this is very bearish because we're putting in a lower high and we're testing the same region. And the more times we test the region, the more likely we are to break through that region. So 1, 2, 3 times we're testing a region. Every time we try and have a relief rally, we're putting in lower highs. This looks weak to me. I think this is likelier than not to break to the downside. And so for me, just doing some super basic TA on Tesla, I would honestly hop on a short if we broke down from this level I'm about to describe. So if we did something like this with Tesla, where if we broke down, came back up, retested, got rejected, we could probably fall at least the height of this triangle. So I mean, I could see Tesla fall all the way to $200, maybe even lower if we break down bearishly here. So I mean, fuck Tesla. I mean, again, I don't want real people to be hurt, and unfortunately, people have their savings in Tesla, and I personally would not want to have my money in Tesla. That's not financial advice. And so, if people do get hurt, if it collapses, I feel bad about that, and I wouldn't want to flood Tesla if I had a kind of major public influence. But at this point, I don't give two shits about Tesla's future because Elon is hurting people in crypto unnecessarily. Definitely unnecessarily. So that's that. Sorry about that tangent, folks. But those are basically my thoughts with Tesla and with Ethereum. So let's see what you guys are saying currently. So The Big Short is a must-see movie for any crypto enthusiast. 100%. It is a great movie. And folks, when Messin hops on the next live stream, you guys got to give him shit. Go to the next live stream. Whenever we're live streaming together, you gotta be like, yo, Messin, why haven't you seen The Big Short? Brandon's been telling you to watch The Big Short. I've been telling him it's a documentary on how to and he's not buying it. So he definitely has to check that out. So Uber Dominator says aMillionortheMoon, TLA, Conskid, Imagine Crossover, Coinskid. I'm not sure, bro. I don't know what you're saying. Tesla sucks. I feel bad for you guys who actually started up Tesla because Elon really ruined it after he took over. Well, look, I mean, he made that company what it is, but he's just being a dick here in the short term. Like, he's not considering how his actions are negatively affecting a lot of people. And so, look, if you're trying to go to Mars, if you're trying to build green cars, that's all great. Those are all laudable causes. But if you're also on your free time ruining the financial savings of everyday people, then that's a problem, and that needs to be called out. So, guys, enough of that. Let's talk about some further major news stories. Solana has been raising a shit ton of money in their ecosystem. Several funds, Polychain Capital, Alameda Research, a large investment house. Definitely worth looking to what these guys do. They back a lot of solid projects. Blockchain Ventures, another one I'm familiar with. CMS Holdings, Coin Fund, CoinShares, Collab, Currency, Metric Capital, and many others are all pouring a shit ton of money into Solana. And guys, we gotta understand, crypto is driven by fear and greed and speculation, and we're having big moneyed interest backing Solana. So Solana is definitely a project that I think could be the next Cardano, Polkadot, in the sense that it could be a major competitor to Ethereum. Because while I love Ethereum, Ethereum has a lot of issues with scalability and with gas fees. And by the way, I don't know if I have the news story pulled up, but Ethereum 2.0 is actually delayed. Like the full rollout of ETH 2.0 is delayed until 2022. So, folks, like while I love Ethereum, Ethereum's leaving a lot of room for competitors to come into this market. And so one player that I've been looking into as of recently to get into, actually something I've been buying the dip on, which I will now share with you guys, is this project called Mercurial Finance. So Mercurial Finance is a DeFi play within the Solana ecosystem. So guys, Mercurial, in the simplest way I could describe it, it's basically the Curve of Solana. So for those who don't know, Curve is a borrowing lending protocol where you can stake and you can yield farm on Ethereum. And so to my best understanding, to put it simply, Mercurial Finance is trying to do that, but for Solana. So if Solana is going to stick around, if DeFi is going to stick around, then DeFi Solana is likely to do well. And I think Mercurial Finance is one of those players that has a very good chance of being a leader in DeFi in the Solana ecosystem. Low market cap, 46 million. And so again, guys, the market could collapse further, but I mean, we're currently down a shit ton from all-time highs. I think we're down roughly 80% from all-time highs. And so I have definitely been buying the dip on this project as well. Guys, I have been saying this to no end on every single live stream for the past few weeks. Parachains, Kusama, Parachains, Kusama. What are we seeing recently? Kusama is taking off. While Bitcoin and Ethereum are, looking pretty shaky, Kusama has been doing nothing but pumping after the first initial sell-off. Kusama is very strong because very soon, starting June the 15th, Kusama parachains will start. Guys, I've been saying this nonstop. Ever since Kusama was around $200, I've been buying the dip on Kusama. Kusama, parachains. And it's just starting. I think we're likely to see an anticipatory run-up leading up to June the 15th. And again, guys, sometimes there's, buy the news, buy the rumor, sell the news kind of situation. So when the parachain auctions start around June 15th, we may very well see a sell-off with Kusama. It's technically possible because, again, we see this a lot. Major news events, major catalysts, there's an anticipatory run-up and usually a sell-off afterwards. So if you're not looking to hold Kusama years or half a year, if you're maybe more of a swing trader, I mean, taking profits leading up to the launch of parachains is not the craziest idea, not financial advice. I probably plan on holding my Kusama until August, September. Although if you were looking for a place to take profits, leading up to the launch of parachains might not be the worst place to start to take profits. Again, buy the rumor, sell the news. This is a giant news event, giant catalyst, and so we're likely to see further anticipatory run-up and maybe a sell-off afterwards. We'll see. At this point, guys, it looks like we might even test all-time highs soon here. We're breaking above resistance. Guys, again, Solana super strong, just getting bullish because, again, the thing about these parachains is that projects are going to start to buy Kusama in mass to lock it up for months, if not years. So definitely keep Kusama on a radar. And again, I've been ringing the alarm bells on Kusama nonstop for weeks, if not months at this point. So folks, like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit that bell icon notified of new uploads. Buffalo on the Beat says, didn't Solana get like 300 million this week? Yeah, no, this news story here, yeah, 314 million from different investment houses. Guys, investment funds are backing Solana, and thus the major players within the Solana ecosystem are likely to do well. Because if Solana does well, then the leaders in Solana DeFi are likely to do well. And I think Mercurial Finance has a very good chance of being one of the leaders in Solana DeFi. Another one that I like a lot in Solana DeFi is this one here. It's called Ramp. This is another one. It's kind of like a swap slash DeFi play for the Solana ecosystem. All right. So look, I've honestly, all I've done is read the website and a bit of the white paper. So again, I'm not super knowledgeable about this thing, but I took a look at roughly a dozen or two DeFi projects within Solana, and Ramp was one of the ones that stood out to me. Another one that kind of stood out to me was Oxygen, another DeFi play within Solana, kind of a swap, general DeFi play for the Solana ecosystem. This is another one that I think has a good chance of being a leader in Solana DeFi. And so if Solana is going to do well, if we see these investment funds back Solana, then the big players in the major niches within Solana are likely to do well. The exchanges, the swaps, the DeFi players, the NFTs, the big players within each of those niches within Solana are likely to do well. And we're seeing big players back this ecosystem. So I think, the big players in each of the major niches, what's the biggest NFT play in Solana? What's the biggest DeFi play in Solana? What's the biggest swap in Solana? Oxygen, Ramp, Mercurial Finance. I think those are some of the top three most interesting Solana picks to keep on our radar. So Pure Existence Health and Wellness says, bro, you're amazing and appreciate beyond words. That is very kind. Thank you very much for the kind words. That's awesome. Thank you for the kindness. Also, Buff on the Beat says, you think Solana can drop below $40? Look, man, I don't know. At this point, it's Bitcoin's market. If Bitcoin pumps, the alts will pump. If Bitcoin dumps, the alts will dump. Again, we have outliers, like Kusama's an outlier just because it has an insanely bullish catalyst quickly approaching, but the general market will follow Bitcoin. And so the thing that's super interesting about Solana, I'm glad I took a look, is because we're right up against major resistance. Look at this base of support. Days. Let's actually measure how many weeks we had. 1, 2, 3 weeks of reaction off kind of this $42, $45 region. And so we're up against tons of resistance. Look at all this sideways action above us acting as resistance. We also have confirmation by this volume. So Solana has a shit ton of resistance above it. And if we continue to find rejection, we're probably going to have a pullback here. And so I do think this could probably pull back below $40. If we find rejection here, which again, it looks like we're doing, if we can't get above $43, $44 soon, then we could probably fall below $40 again. That's very possible in my opinion. We could fall and put in a higher low. And so also, just I think something like this, is very likely, where we might, find rejection, come back down, retest this trend line, and then test it again. So I think, Sol is basically forming this massive ascending triangle, very likely to have a breakout within the week, I'd say. So yeah, watch out for this ascending triangle. Watch out to see what way we break out. And again, guys, the way not financial advice, but the way you trade a breakout is if we break up bullishly, wait to see if it comes back down, retest, holds that as support, then it can continue to go up. If it breaks down bearishly, wait for the breakout, wait to see if it comes back up, retest, and if it finds rejection, then it could fall a lot lower. Wait for breakouts and wait for confirmation. Confirmation. Again, guys, look, it's great to talk about. It's great for people to share their wisdom and experience. I do that, or at least I try to. But at the end of the day, price action is king, and price will tell you what's more or less likely. So wait for the breakout, wait for the confirmation. That's what's going on with Solana as well, guys. Maybe just to start sharing a few of the things I'm like buying the dip on. Superfarm is an NFT project I like. It's Elio Trades. He's a crypto YouTuber. It's his project. I didn't buy the dip on this just because I'm still holding from when I got in. And so I think my average entry is actually pretty shitty. I think it's like under $2. I think it's like $1.80, $1.50, something around there. Anyways, for me, I'm only gonna hold this thing years if I have to. This project is going for NFT, mass adoption, NFT marketplace, interoperability, and utility. NFTs are here to stay. I honestly love the fact that we had a major pump and a major dump cycle, because that shook out all the weak hands, and that this major dump that we're seeing will allow a more sustainable uptrend on the other end whenever it just so happens to start here. So again, guys, this thing's like down 85% from all-time highs. Let's actually measure the exact number. 87% down from all-time highs. Bear market discounts and what could still be a bull market. So definitely keep this thing on your radar. I see someone talking about Cardano. Let's definitely take a look at Cardano. So On Cardano, the main takeaway with this remains the same, which is we need to remain above these three peaks to remain bullish. As long as we remain above that, we're good. And we're remaining above that. So if we get this daily candle in the next 21 minutes, close where it's at, that is a good positive sign. As well, if we go over to the weekly here, and actually if we go for the monthly, this $1.31 is the next major support level for Cardano. So we've been saying on this channel, $1.50, giant, massive level. The next level below that is $1.31. We had two monthly candles, super macro, hold above $1.31. So as long as Cardano is above $1.31, then Cardano has upside potential. If we start to break below $1.31, it starts to look like we can downtrend for a lot. So $1.31 and $1.50 are the major support levels. As long as Cardano holds above that, then Cardano could see upside potential. As long as we hold above that, worst case is consolidation. But if we hold $1.50, $1.30, we can see we could continue to trend bullishly. Worst case, you'll see consolidation. If we start to break below $1.50, break below $1.30, then we could really downtrend some more. Those are the two most important support levels for Cardano here in the near future. So let's take a look at VECHAIN. I think I see someone here talking about VECHAIN. Let's definitely take a look at VECHAIN. VECHAIN, this is another one. Guys, I've been in VECHAIN since like 1.5 cents. And so even after this correction, I mean, at 12 cents, I'm still like in pretty decent profit. And so I did take some profits on my VECHAIN positions, I think roughly 10% yesterday, just because Bitcoin did put in that lower low. And I'm forcing myself to act logically and practice risk management, even though I hate selling dips. I'm fighting myself. Like, I would love to be buying the dip, but I've hardly taken profits this entire cycle. I think the first time I took profits this entire bull cycle was with Matic around $2, my first 100x. I got 100x, so I just had to take profits. It was 100x, so I sold my Matic, my Polygon. I love Matic Polygon, but it did 100x for me, so I sold it. And so that was like the first time I'd taken profits like this entire bull cycle. And so with VECHAIN, you know, we had bearish confirmation. I was like, fuck it, we're down a lot, but I took some profits. But again, I've been buying the dip on like half a dozen things, maybe even more this morning. And so I've also been reaccumulating. I rebought back into VECHAIN because look, guys, you know, I think we might have bottomed out with Bitcoin. And if we break below 30K, then like I'm pretty much fully out of the market. But as long as we hold above 30K, there's some hope. And so with VECHAIN, again, we need to follow Bitcoin, but also we need to follow this 200 EMA on the 6 hour. And again, if you know me, if you've been following the channel, you already know what I'm going to say. This is the most important level for VECHAIN. Pump, dump, found support there. Pump, dump, found support there. Pump, dump, found support there. First major flash crash, we pumped, we dumped, we found support where? On the 200 EMA on the 6 hour. I've been saying this for months at this point, months, that this is the support / resistance level to look out for VECHAIN. So for me, to understand VECHAIN, it's very simple. As long as we're below this thing, we're bearish. Once we can get above 14 cents, hold above 14 cents, then VECHAIN starts to look more bullish. And if VECHAIN can get above 14 cents, then VECHAIN could retest this red trend line. If we can break above, come back down, retest, hold a support, then we can enter price discovery once more. So that's what I'm looking out for with VECHAIN. So Garrett Brent says, my trust wallet is solved, but I still haven't received the BTC I sent to the wallet. My passphrase, bright chimney. Okay, yeah, I don't know what's going on there, man. I'm not your tech support. Unfortunately, I can't help you with what's going on. Now, guys, look, you know, I've been going on for quite a while here. I do want to I want to double check, mention to see if I mentioned all the important news stories. Also, guys, in terms of adoption, we need to understand we are on the cusp of adoption. Recently, a report was released by Bank of International Settlements talking about hybrid CBDCs, central bank distributed currencies, cryptocurrencies controlled by banks and countries. They do have use case. And folks, we're seeing China come out with a digital yuan, the UK, Canada, different countries are talking about this. So we're on the verge of adoption. We're just starting to see regulation come in. Regulation is needed for adoption. It's needed for custodial services. It's needed for reporting. It's needed for taxes. We're seeing countries talking about creating their own cryptocurrencies. We're seeing countries start to adopt Bitcoin. Folks, take a look at the long-term picture. What does this long-term picture spell? It spells a picture that eventually crypto is the next major asset class in the world. Just like the stock market was once a new thing, the commodities market was once a new thing, futures, forex, all these different globally traded markets were all once new things. Cryptocurrency is the newest major asset class on that list, and we're just in the beginning stages of adoption and regulatory clarity. So everyone here, the 200 people watching this live stream, we're all on the right side of history. What we don't know is the timing. The timing is difficult. The short term is difficult. But the longer the outlook we have, the more likely we are to be on the right side of history. So again, guys, you just got to keep that in mind. Keep that long-term outlook in mind. Again, while China is like putting out reports on how to adopt a blockchain and cryptocurrency, meanwhile, the former U.S. President Donald Trump is calling Bitcoin a scam. This is just a sign of the times where the power and where the adoption and the innovation in the world is going. Unfortunately, China is beating out the U.S. and it looks like China might be the next century's global reserve currency and the next global power because the United States, they're printing trillions, devaluing their currency. They're fighting adoption and they're fighting a losing battle. So guys, this is really a sign of the times that while the Americans are fighting Bitcoin, the Chinese are putting out studies and papers and implementing blockchain technology internally and rolling out a CBDC. Like guys, it's really a sign of the times. We have really a dying country here, and then a country on the cutting edge of innovation. So, I mean, while I don't like to see it, I'm not a fan of the Chinese government. It does seem like America's losing its control as the number one player, at least economically. So we'll see how this happens. Like every 100 years, the global reserve currency changes, and it's time for America's it's time for America's dollar to shift its control. And so yeah, guys, again, let me see if there's any major news stories here. Okay, this is something that was pretty interesting, which is the Biden advisor is holding basically he's holding a shit ton of Bitcoin. And so this is why I think Bitcoin will succeed, because it's in people's financial interest for Bitcoin to succeed. The rich are starting to buy Bitcoin. Investment funds, countries, rich people, influential people are starting to buy and get into crypto. And that's why it will succeed, because it's in people's financial interest. Governments, countries don't do things out of the goodness of their hearts. They do things because they're influenced to do things. Politicians make decisions based off what they think is politically advantageous for them or what they're pushed to do. And moneyed interest will push for beneficial regulation. And so, guys, we will have a lot of messy regulatory uncertainty moving forward because we're on the cusp of adoption. But ultimately, over the long term, regulation is necessary in crypto for further adoption, for the use case. So we shouldn't be afraid of further regulation in these markets. Okay, so that's that. I think I pretty much got mostly what I want to say off my chest here. So yeah, also another interesting thing here is San Jose Sharks become first NHL team to accept crypto payments. Again, guys, we're just on the verge of adoption here. And so, guys, look, I'm getting a bit tired here. I'm starting to stumble over my words. I think I got pretty much all I wanted to say off my chest. Wow, we just keep pumping. Let's take a look here in the short term. What is Bitcoin saying? Look at this. Yeah, so we got above 37,000. That's good to see. So, guys, basically kind of like the last stand of support here, the last major resistance is 37,900. Basically, these areas here, this area here coincides with this trend line from the top of our wedge. So from the top of our wedge here, we just extend a trend line here, then that's pretty much where the resistance lies. And so if we can punch above 38K, then we can retest 41, 42K. So 38K is the key inflection point in the short term. If we can flip 38,000 from resistance into support, then we can test the low 40s. So this is very, very important to see, folks. Very interesting to see how we play out. This is a substantial pump, folks. And it's not just the fact that we're pumping. It's not just the fact that we're breaking resistance. It's the fact that we broke down bearishly, and the market said, we ain't going down. We tried to break down. It looked bad. We even put in a lower low, and even still, even after a lower low, the downtrend got completely rejected. We're breaking out bullishly. It's getting bought up, and we're breaking past resistance. So, guys, we need confirmation. We need further confirmation. But there's light at the end of this tunnel. And at the end of the day, guys, understand that this is a marathon. It's not a race. Have a long-term outlook. Understand that the people in cryptocurrency who have been the most successful are the people who bought when nobody else wanted to buy, the people who bought when nobody else understood it, and who held it forever. The greatest risk factor in crypto is, number one, what you're holding, but number two, how long you're willing to hold. People with a short-term perspective and a short-term outlook have greatly increased risk. If you're willing to hold the next decade, then who cares what happens this month, this year, this next 2 years? Because over the long term, these short-term dips won't matter. So, folks, have a long-term outlook. Please, if you are new, do not leverage trade. Leverage trading is a great way to lose money if you're a newer person and you're still trying to learn. So please focus your efforts on learning if you're trying to trade. Don't actually leverage trade, because leverage trading is a great way to lose a lot of money real quick. And yeah, so those are basically most of my thoughts, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Do not forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. If you like us, you want more access to ourselves, become a VIP Discord member before we implement a bunch of improvements. We're going to be bringing even more value to our VIP Discord members, where we talk about our low cap gems, interesting setups, staking opportunities. We talk to all our members regularly, and we're going to be implementing even more value soon. And the people that got in early will greatly benefit from being in early. So, folks, you get access through our Patreon. The link for that is down in the description. Click on every link in the description. We'll be a happy camper. That's basically most of the shilling I wanted to get off my back. T Dodger says, thanks. I'm quite new to crypto and I'm down a bit, but it helps you react really calm. 100%. Well, thank you for your support and for sticking around. Again, stick around with these live streams. Hopefully, if you hear the factors I consider, you can start to incorporate, some of these factors into your own understanding, do your own research, and hopefully over time you can become more confident in your own understanding. Dare802 says, why stream in 720p? I believe I'm streaming in full HD, but I'll double check after the live stream. Thank you for the heads up. Merrick says, I can't hear the stupid El Salvador news anymore. The reason BTC went up is because there's a lot of buyers at 30K. Yes, it's also one of the biggest news stories in Bitcoin's history. Diamond 528 says, many thanks. And Core says, thank you so much. No, guys, thank you. You guys are the best. We do this for you guys. And don't forget to smash that like button. I'm going to wrap it up here. Until next time, folks, take care.